I don't see mine here.
Good night and welcome to the Lall Show. The You are joined by Lall, the publisher of Kaieteur Radio, who's the focus of this show, and he'll be accompanied by myself, Kemol King, and my colleague Kiana Wilburg. Tonight we're going to be talking to you about what went on in the giveaway of the Kaieteur block. You'll remember that 2 days ago, our publisher elaborated on what went on with the giveaway of the Kanchi block. Now Mr. Lall is going to give you the other side of the story. So without further ado, I'm going to allow my publisher to say hello and to begin his expose. Mr. Lall?
Thank you, Kemol. Good evening, one and all. Wherever you are, I'm thankful that you find the time to share with us, listen with us, what we have to say about not our bread and butter for the Guyanese nation, but what we are to have, a good life. Like Kemol said, I spoke about the giveaway of the Kanchi block, whose hands it fall into, and what we got out of that deal. Without further ado, I want to begin this program because time is of the essence, and I had planned to expose or to tell you a little of what happened with the Kaieteur oil block. Before I get down into the details of that, Guyana, I want to share a piece of information that will keep you awake. I know it's 8:30 going on, and many of you move to bed very early. It has been on my mind a long time now about a story we carried a few days ago that ignited the fire in me. And it had to do with CGX. That headline we carried, it was CGX to build Guyana $155 million for a dry hole. What is CGX? Who is CGX? CGX is headed by a man named Suresh Narayan, Professor Suresh Narayan. I am yet to put together that story because CGX was granted the Quarantine block, the Demerara block, and the Berbice block. I just want to tell you that headline really moved me. Hence, I want to tell you a little piece of it now. When that headline in which we spoke about 155 million US dollars owed for a dry well that the owners of CGX dug, it had me trembling, because little do Guyana know or remember, CGX sold a third of the Berbice and the Quarantine block to a company called Frontiera Energy out of Canada. They collected 33 million US dollars. And when you hear that the people selling your oil blocks to international players and collecting $33 million, you have to ask yourself, what are we getting? And you know what we got? The next week, we got a bill for $155 million from the same company that sold a third of the block to a foreign company. That deal was okayed, that deal was authorized by the PNC-R and the AFC, meaning the coalition government. What did Guyana get? What did you get? Here what you got. You got the bill for 155 million for a single dry well, and who knows how many more bills will be thrown at us in the coming future. In 2020, Exxon oil money bring in barely about 150 million US for the entire year of 2020. And when you get a bill for $155 million, one has to wonder, are we doing business or are we doing busyness? Here on one hand, the entire 2020, Guyana would have received barely 150 million. That's sitting in a bank. Only to be told by CGX, you have $155 million for one dry hole they dig. How can one live understanding these type of games? How can we juxtapose 150 to 155? It means that we owe the people, just for the dry well, 5 million US, to which has to come out from our pockets. And Guyana, they're begging for $22 million to buy COVID medicine. Guyana, they're begging for 22 million US for buy COVID medicine and pain-killing tablets. Can you understand what I'm saying, Guyana? We have wealth, so much wealth out there that can make us millionaires. Your salaries can be 5 times as I speak. But our leaders and these oil deals, until they wake up and smell the coffee, we will continue, the people of this country will continue to live just like how they are living now. And most importantly, we would have people running from courts who barely can make a 5,000 installment on a bed or on some sofa they would have purchased from them. We will continue to have many more people sleeping in the streets and snatching umbrellas if we don't wake up and smell the coffee. So, I tell you that little story so you get an idea of what and how our leaders are handling our wealth. I hope that little story will keep you awake as we go through, as I began to tell you about the Kaieteur oil block that was given away. So here we go. You need to know the value. That's the first thing we need to know. The value of the Kaieteur block. It has an estimated 2.1 billion barrels. If we were to use a figure of $50 per barrel, we're looking at losing 100 million. If we are looking to use $25 per barrel, we are looking at losing $50 billion. If we were to use $20 per barrel, we're losing 40 billion US dollars. And that oil block was given away by 3 players. The same 3 players that gave away the Kanji blocks gave away the Kaieteur block. Newell Dennison of the GGMC, he was the head at the time, Robert Prasad, who was the Natural Resources Minister at the time, and of course, former President Donald Ramattar. And this is the story. The Kaieteur block was issued to two companies, Ratio Guyana Limited and Ratio Energy Limited. Like Kanji, this one was given away 13 days. I repeat, 13 days before the 2015 elections. Ratio Guyana Limited was registered here in 2013 by three Israelis, sorry. And Ratio Energy Limited, documents cannot be found anywhere as to when it was registered. We would have checked and double checked. All we know is that both companies use the same address in Guyana. Ratio Energy Limited, according to the contract, is headed by two people, a Ryan Pereira, Guyanese, and a Michael K. Wood, a Canadian. Ratio Guyana Limited, the Israeli company, was incorporated in Gibraltar and then registered here as a foreign company. Three persons listed on that contract. Both companies, according to the contract, registered from the same address in Prasad Nagar. That's in Georgetown, Guyana. It's important to note, pay attention, Guyana, both company has its office space at Suites in Tongue Range, Gibraltar. So, if you're following me, this is two companies who were handed this block. One registered in Gibraltar, came here and register. The other one registered here that we can't find the documents, also registered in Gibraltar. And the two of them share the same registered offices or home addresses. And that's puzzling. Is that puzzling, Kemol? Kiana?
Yes, it is.
It's very puzzling. It puts you to ask yourself, what is really playing out here? So Guyana, we have 5 people, 3 from Israel, 1 from Guyana, 1 from Canada, and I would like to call them the 5 flippers of the Kaieteur block. We were able to find out Ryan Pereira and his Canadian partner, Mr. K. Wood. And I would like to tell you a little about Ryan Pereira. In 2010, agreements were announced to allow Kaywood River Gold Corporations the option to take control in mineral properties in Guyana. They made this agreement with the Pereira Group. Let me repeat. In 2010, agreements were announced to allow Kaywood's Rivera Gold Corporation the option to take control of mineral properties in Guyana. They made this agreement with Pereira Group. The men both have experience in mining, but had no experience in oil and gas at the time they received the oil block. What we also found out is that they had no website. Imagine you give a company an oil block and these people have no website, no cash, no experience, no expertise, especially in ultra deep waters where the Kaieteur block is situated. Two years, Guyana. 2 years before the oil block was granted to Ryan Pereira, Ryan Pereira was racking up a loan at a local bank here for $1 billion, which he couldn't pay. They were able to settle that matter, in which the bank was forced to reduce that $1 billion loan that he couldn't pay. And we are not certain, I'm not certain whether it was paid or not. But this is a man who is in debt, who can't afford anything, owe banks, and you're handing an oil block to them. As for Ratio Guyana, the Israeli company, the owner and CEO is a man called Ligard Rotlevi from Tel Aviv, Israel. He and two other men, Sam Lagdu and Rotlevi, are the founders of Ratio Guyana's parent company called Ratio Petroleum. And you need to listen to this carefully. The application for the block was made since 2012, 3 years before ExxonMobil published its first Stabroek discovery. One of the founders said that he knew Guyana Basin was richly endowed since then. And on April 28, 2015, 13 days before elections, Donald Ramotar, Robert Prasad, and Newell Dennison gave the Kaieteur block to these companies. I hope I'm very clear on the radio. Listen to this, Guyana. Ryan Pereira and Michael Kaywood, with no experience, no expertise in the oil and gas, and no cash in hand, were handed half of that oil block for free. Come on. Come on. Somebody say something. Kemol?
Before you continue, Mr. Lall, one of the things that you spoke to was the fact that Guyana would have lost out on billions of dollars. Would you care to explain the way or the ways in which Guyana would have lost out so far on that money?
With the knowledge Guyana had when Stabroek made their findings known to Guyana, the government of the day, the people of this country knew that the Kaieteur, Kanji, and the other block C, at the top of Stabroek, they discovered oil there. So why would you give away this oil block for free? It boggles the mind. That oil block could have gone in the open market. Should have gone to tender. We should have had invited oil companies in to say, guys, listen, this is what we have here. Let's bid on it. But they didn't. And there's so many stories to come on that I don't even want to touch on. They knew. Oil companies offered, and they knew but they didn't want to sell it to those companies. So you have to read through the lines.
Yes.
They don't care about Guyana. Read through the lines and see who they care about. And why would they care about people who doesn't even have no experience and no money? Something is definitely smelling there. It stinks. This is beyond any logical explanation. You give a block, an oil block that rests, that sits in ultra deep waters. I don't think people understand what is the ultra deep water. They are not many oil companies is capable of drill or bring oil from ultra deep waters. Maybe 3 or 4. I think ExxonMobil is one. Who else we have?
We have Royal Dutch Shell,
Yeah.
Total.
You
Yeah.
have Chevron. They can do deep water drilling.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also Tullow.
Yes.
Exxon, Tullow, anybody else? I
Yeah.
think you have
Yeah.
Petrobras,
Yes.
Brass out of
Petrobras,
Brazil.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
3, if not maybe 4, maybe the most in the world. That's like, it reminds me of like a man who can barely ride a bicycle. You give him your brand new plane for free to fly. Come on, who does things like that?
One of the things people should also know is that for many years, oil companies knew that ultra deep water areas were there to explore, but they focused generally on the shallow and the deep water areas because they knew that it would take so much money and so much more development in technology to get to that place.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of oil in shallow and mid-water areas that they had enough time to drill and to produce before they can get to that place. It was only until, I'd say, how many years ago that companies like ExxonMobil and Royal Dutch Shell started to develop the capacity to drill in ultra-deep water areas. So it gives you an idea that this oil industry has been in force, drilling and producing for oil for over 100 years, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only recently that some of the best oil companies developed the capacity to drill and produce in ultra deep water areas.
Mm-hmm. It's like a mango tree. Everybody run for the mango at the bottom. The ones at the top, you can't get it. You can't climb there.
Yeah.
You know? So, and then you put a baby to take the mango at the top that has the same value of the mango at the bottom. Come on, nobody does that. And guess what? Guess what? These people did nothing. Just like Kanji, they did nothing to the oil block. They didn't even, like I said in the Kanji, duck their finger or jump in the ocean for a swim. Meaning no work was done on this oil block too. And guess what? The madness began. In 2017, Ratio Energy, owned by Pereira, changed its name. Its name to Catalea Energy. 2 years later, the sale began. Selling. Selling without doing anything to these oil blocks. And guess who's the first person jump on board to buy? ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil, bought 50% of it. And they too become the operator of the block. How much it was sold for? I think only God in heaven and them know. What I do know is that we, the Guyanese people, got nothing, not a blind cent from that deal. And then, of course, the next sellout kick in which Exxon buy 50% from them and end up selling to another oil company 15% of it. Do you know how much money it was sold for?
No idea.
Our leaders know how much money Exxon sell the company for? No. Did Guyana get anything? No. No, we didn't know how much millions, how much hundreds of millions, how much billions. We don't know. Guyana doesn't know nothing.
Because we said that we didn't want to collect capital gains tax or many other taxes that we could have placed under the agreement to collect.
Yes, I agree. Well, let me add a piece to that. Had they sold in Guyana, we would have been able to capture some taxes. But we allowed them to transfer the block into foreign companies. And when they sell in foreign lands. You cannot claim tax from a foreign country. You understand? When they sell in the foreign country, then that country gets the taxes. But I understand where you're coming from. Taxes is nowhere here that we should speak about because of the transaction they did. You see, it wasn't sell here. So that's, but in all, you got nothing. Nothing. And you got nothing because the companies were registered in Gibraltar. And Kiana, I would like you to kick in here. Why did they registered in Gibraltar?
Well, thank you, Mr. Lall, for passing the baton over to me. So, I mean, you're making a lot of interesting points. And as you were going along with your presentation, I was also making some points to make my input. And I'd like to start with the very interesting point you made there about how much was it sold for, the country does not know. And there's some really interesting things that are in play that are preventing us from being able to pierce that veil so that we can be able to access this information. And the first one starts with the Dodd-Frank Act. And the Dodd-Frank Act in America, what the provisions of that act allowed was that if the companies from America made payments or they bought anything wherever they are, the countries, the host country, can be able to access that information. What happened when that provision was repealed, is that you're now unable to access that information. So that's on one side, from the buyer side. On the seller side, you have the companies going to register themselves in tax havens, which will not reveal the financial statements or the financial information about the company. That's one of the benefits of registering in these countries like the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and Gibraltar, as you mentioned, in the case of the racial consortium. And another issue that this has raised for us is how effective is the extractive industries transparency initiative that is in Guyana. A report would have been prepared by this body in 2017. And this report is supposed to say, who are the individuals that make up all the oil companies? Where are you registered? What did you sell? How much money did you give to the government? And in this report, you're supposed to, it provides a little form for the companies to sign up. And 9 out of 10, many of the companies outright refuse to disclose the information about payments. So what we see here is a huge cloak of obscurity that is covering everything that has to do with payments, from the buyers to the sellers, and the only people who are left to suffer from this are the Guyanese. So that's just my input. I will wait until you're finished
Yeah.
before I make another comment.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me add a little piece or try to simplify what you said there about ExxonMobil, an American company in which the laws were changed. It was changed by Donald Trump.
Yes.
And Donald Trump said very clearly, out of his mouth I'm speaking, go and bring the wealth here. I don't care who you corrupt. I don't care who you rob. You just bring it here. You don't have to tell us what you did or what you did not. So in short, this is the President of the United States telling American companies to go corrupt our leaders every part of the world, and you just bring the goddamn wealth. You have no questions to answer here. And since I heard that from him, and they would have repealed the act you said, it sends some shivers down my spine. It's like I am saying, listen, go kick down the man door. I don't concern what you do, and come bring whatever you gotta bring here. So I find that very frightening. And Global Witness would have said a nice piece that I'm going to read to you. Gibraltar has been used before to conceal bribery. Global Witness said that registering companies offshore allows their holders to operate, all the while staying in the shadows, a gift to people who want to move dirty money. And one example, a scandal involving Halliburton. Halliburton is one of the major oil companies that was in Iraq during the Bush era. That the company paid $132 million to a company based in Gibraltar. That same company that Ratio Energy and Ratio Guyana is registered. Pay that company in Gibraltar to bribe high-ranking Nigerian officials so it could get a lucrative gas contract.
Halliburton is one of the companies actually operating in Guyana right now.
Yes. Yes. You know, sometimes I wonder if Guyana's leaders got any money from the giveaway of the oil blocks. Just wonder. It's up to you. You just wonder. I know how I feel, and I know what I'm thinking. Had we put the oil block on the international market by way of tender, like I said, Guyana would have already been rich. No citizen should be hiding from courts that can't meet a $5,000 monthly installment. Come on, guys. With billions of US dollars in wealth. You know, when ExxonMobil announced its first discovery in May, just days after the Kaieteur block was given away. Yes, days after it was given away.
What would have happened if we had just waited just a few days and found out that we had oil. Imagine how much more valuable the Kaieteur block would have been in the eyes of the international community.
That would have been the billions, bro. That would have been the billions. How much Guyana could have sold the Kaieteur block, which sits right on top of the Starbuck block? ExxonMobil is drilling in the Kaieteur block right now as we speak. And the company expects to make its discovery there of 256 million barrels.
On one well, just one well.
Imagine that, on one well alone. Of course, drilling the well comes with a cost, like the dry well. But we will pay that. But of course, we are getting oil out of that. And the few pennies that we'll be getting will come out paying for drilling that well that will be bringing up the 256 million barrels. And it expect the entire block to hold 2.1 billion barrels. Not me saying this. This is what ExxonMobil, that buy-in from these guys, the 50% is saying.
Yes.
That by itself worth hundreds upon hundreds of millions in US dollars.
Yes.
Guyana has to wake up. Guyanese, you're sleeping too early. You need to understand what is going on. And we are here, and we will be on the air. We will come to you, and we will share. As the information comes to us, we will share it with you. For now, we have a ton of information that we could talk for years to come. Now, imagine what is there to come. A matter of fact, we will be doing a story on Sunday, and we will decide whether we'll come on the air just to discuss that one story to enlighten you as to what is going on with our oil wealth, our money. You know, let me repeat the exact thing Denison said in the giving away of the Kanji block, that he knew the people didn't have money, but still recommended the oil block. The same thing he did with this. Robert Prasad said the same thing. Robert Prasad said he was standing on the bridge, not the Demerara Harbor Bridge, but he was standing in the bridge. He was standing as a bridge between Denison and President Ramatara. The Natural Resources Minister at the time said that when confronted. He said he wasn't the Petroleum Minister. President Ramatara was. And Donald Ramatara, the former president, says he didn't read the contracts. Signing away an oil block that worth billions of American dollars, you ain't reading a contract. But you and your government is begging for $2 million to help. 2 million, not billion, to help build and renovate some of our medical facilities. As a matter of fact, that story is going tomorrow. They're begging, they got a 2 million loan from India to rehabilitate and fix up some of our medical facilities in this country. Can you believe this thing? This is unthinkable. I have since written both President Ramatara and Robert to explain the rationale behind giving away these 2 oil blocks.
Have they responded?
We are still waiting, Kiana. I'm still waiting for a response. Okay. I hope they do. I am expecting, and let good sense prevail, that they come and tell this nation, well, here, guys, This is not right what you're saying. This was our rationale when we give away. And I want to repeat what I said Wednesday about the kanji, when I was speaking about the kanji giveaway. After years of exposing the secrecy behind the hijacking of our oil blocks, our Vice President, Bharat Jagdeo, finally held a press conference last week. During the press conference, he said no laws were broken and no corruption was involved. My God. My God. You hear that, Guyana? And in his defense of the oil blocks giveaway, he said he would make sure that the owners pay their fair share of taxes. He also said that he can convince Kaieteur News that everything that happened with the 2 blocks was fine. Did you hear what I said, Guyana? This man is telling us that he can convince us that everything was fine. Well, I have decided to call him. I have decided to invite him. I want to invite all our political leaders to come here on this radio and let's talk. Let's talk. Let's get it in the open. Let's be fair to the nation. Let us don't do things in secret. I hate to think that our country's resources, especially the oil, will disappear and my fellow citizens, brothers and sisters, have to continue living the way they're living. No. No, Mr. Vice President. You got to come in the air, as you said you're going to convince Kaieteur News. I don't want you to convince Kaieteur News alone. I want you to convince the nation that nothing happened, no skullduggery. It was, no law was broken, and it's fine what you guys did. And as for our opposition leader, Mr. Joe Harmon, he too, I would like to invite to come on board. Because, and let me repeat again, after they would have demitted office, he held 4 press conferences. That would have been for what? The last, we are out 100 days, 3 months? In 3 months, he held 4 press conferences. And when questioned about the oil block, he told the press he will get up his oil people to come and hold a special press briefing to talk and to answer all the questions on the oil blocks. At the second press conference, the man, when questioned again, told our reporters that he's still putting together the oil team. And on the third occasion, when the press conference, he told the reporters that Kaieteur News know more than him and how he will wait to hear and to see what Kaieteur News will put out. My God. Mr. Jagdeo, like I said Wednesday, you got to hear us loud, buddy. You got to hear us loud. The nation wants to hear from you. I speak for everyone because I think I am feeling the pain that every Guyanese is feeling right now. The way in which our wealth is siphoning off, is depleting in front of our eyes. They don't deserve, we don't deserve Nobody deserves to live like this in an oil-rich, blessed country like Guyana. No Guyanese, like I said, should be walking about snatching chain in this land, much as snatch umbrella. No Guyanese should be sleeping in the streets of this country. No, sir. No, gentlemen. No to our leaders. We deserve a better and much beautiful life than what we are living here today. So I say to you, Mr. Jagdev, again, to Mr. Harman and Mr. Irfan Ali, our new president, the people of this country must have a better life, one that can be compared to an oil-rich country, not the life they have now. The people don't need to hear about getting the owners of the oil blocks taxes. We don't need to hear about taxes. We need our God-given oil block back in our hands so that we can put them in the market, put them to tender, and rake in our millions, our billions. And on that, we will also collect our fair share of taxes.
Okay. Now,
Thank you.
One of the things that we have attempted to show in our reporting over the weeks on the Kaieteur and Kanji blocks is that despite the fact that the Vice President has said that maybe no laws were broken and that there was no corruption, what we have shown is that there are tropes, there are occurrences that manifest in both the Kanji and Kaieteur blocks that may or may not have broken the laws. However, these tropes have manifested themselves in many corruption scandals around the world. And one of the things that we've shown is how these tropes are very similar to a situation that happened in Senegal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask Kiana to just give a little rundown of what happened in Senegal, because Senegal would have lost out on a lot of money. So I just like you to put into perspective what is at stake for us.
Well, thank you very much, Kemol, for raising that point. And I think that it's pertinent to the discussion that we're having, especially what Mr. Lall just brought to the fore with the explanation by Dr. Jagdeo that no laws were broken. Indeed, sometimes no law is broken, but that doesn't mean that it's not illegal. That doesn't mean it's right. Is it okay for us to give away the two biggest oil blocks out there without getting something that we deserve? Is that really okay? Would you be comfortable giving away your most valuable asset for chump change, for $10, for peppercorn rates? No one would be interested in getting involved in something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to move away from just looking at it from, oh, is it illegal or not? At the end of the day, if this is not in keeping with international best practices, then we need to go back to the table. And this comes back to the issue that Kemol just raised with what happened in Senegal. I mean, time doesn't permit for us to go through all the red flags, but I'll just point out there was a very corrupt businessman by the name of Frank Timis who went into Senegal and positioned himself to get two prime gas blocks off the coast of Senegal. And this individual had no track record in the industry. He had no finances to talk about, and his company was set up in a tax haven. Now, this story was covered by all of the international media houses that you can think about, from Al Jazeera to BBC, from so many places, even in America, many of the media houses there, they would have put the spotlight on this issue. Why? Because it's not in keeping with the international best practices on how assets, national assets, are supposed to be disposed of in the interest of the people. And when you can have situations like these occurring in different parts of the world, and you can take a look at it and see that it is almost a reflection of what is occurring in your country, then how can you excuse that? How can you ignore that reflection and say that, okay, well, no laws in your country have been broken? By the same token, we cannot use that excuse, because the laws that we were referring to, or that Dr. Jagdeo was referring to, are over 30 years old. They never even contemplated the fact that, or the possibility that Guyana would stumble upon the magnitude of the resources that it has, over 9 billion oil equivalent resources in the Stabroek Block alone. Now, the legislative framework that we have certainly cannot be used as a measuring stick for what is legal or what is proper for the oil sector that we have to date. It, by no stretch of the imagination, can be used to say that it is in any way capable of being used as some sort of governance framework for the industry. Now, if it is outdated, obviously, there's nothing that is going on right now that you can say, okay, well, it doesn't fit that criteria, or it's not in harmony with that criteria. Of course it is not in that criteria. That law that we had was to invite people to explore. We are not at that stage anymore. We are now at the stage where the resource is now a guarantee. We have the resource. A different law needs to be in play. So that would be my input for this evening.
I'm going to ask Mr. Lall one question that we've been getting a lot on Facebook Live. In the past few weeks, what Kaieteur News has been doing, it's been putting out all these red flags and saying there could be a huge problem here. And one of the things people are saying on the live is, you're telling us about all these problems that are happening. What is the solution? How do we get out of here? So I'm going to allow Mr. Lall to give his insight into what could be the way forward.
Before I attempt to answer that question, Kemol, I just want to add a little more to what Kiana would have said that transpired in Senegal. Senegal, the president and his brother, they were caught. They were deliberate in their actions, because Frank Timis is not only a businessman, but he was not even a Senegalese. This is a businessman out of Australia that flown into Senegal, got these gas wells that worth billions of American dollars in his hands. And the reports show that when they did the business transactions, money went back to the president's brother bank account. So you just got to read between the lines what is happening here. And the reports there is saying that this same man is set to receive in excess of 12 billion US over the next 40 years. That is the deal that the Senegalese government did with this Australian businessman. Now, my question guys, do you believe that 12 billion US that this man has to collect over the next 40 years is going to him? Just something to think about. Just think about. We give away oil blocks into people's hands that are broke. They are selling them, making millions, and we are to believe that all this money is going into these people's pockets. Is that naive we are? Something isn't right. Something is smelling here. And this is only for now. There are many, many, many more billions to be made out of these blocks. Are you telling me that all these billions will go into those people's hands alone? Come on, guys. Guyana, you got to read through the line. Like Senegal, one man is set to get 12 billion in the next 40 years. That's what the Senegalese government did. And the people starving. Read through the lines. As to the solution, the question you ask about the solution here. Unless we educate the nation in like what we are doing here now, I understand and I am ready to take this to the streets. If I have to do it every day and every night, in front of the leaders' offices and their homes, to demand that, listen, these deals we are going on in this damn place, we ain't going to sit back and allow it. You got to do something to change it. And it can be changed. Don't wait like what Nigeria and those countries did 40, 50 years to understand it. And when you can't turn back the clock or turn back the train. No, things can turn back now. But unless we get out there and wake up and speak out and let the nations know that what you guys doing here is smelling not fishy, but the stench is smelling from your offices into this radio office. Unless we tell them that and let them know boldly that we are not going to sit back and allow it, we will become like all those countries that suffered and have their people suffering. So the solution to this is speak up, but you can only speak up when you understand the thing. You can say, hey guys, no, I am not taking this. We don't have no Frank Timis in Guyana. Okay? And we don't want no Frank Timis in Guyana too. Don't make no deals behind me back. Let the deals be open. Let the blocks them go in a transparent fashion. Let it go in the open market for tender so that we can get our rightful shares. We cannot sit back and allow anymore. At least I cannot sit back. I would not sit back. And I know all two of you will not sit back and allow them to get away with it. Any day deal. We will fight, we will stand up, and we will speak out. So that's the solution. Educate yourself, get to understand so that you can behave and act and get on the same way we're getting on here now.
All right. Now, that has brought us down to the end of the hour.
No, man. I now start and you tell me a thing. Cancel the rest of programs. Let's get going. You have more questions.
I think one of the better points that Mr. Lall has impressed just now is the importance of people power. Mm-hmm. If Glenn, Kemol, and Kiana sit down alone at this radio and talk about what happened with the Kanji and Kaieteur blocks and nobody else joins in, we can't get anywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's all about the voice of the people and what you, the listener, will do about the information that you're getting from us by listening to this radio, by watching the Facebook Live, by reading the paper. You're the one that has to educate yourself and call your representatives and tell them, give them a piece of your mind.
Mm-hmm. This is only, Kemol, you talk about the Kaieteur and Kanji only. Mm-hmm. No, there are many. There are so many things more to talk about. I am yet to talk about the CGX deals. You know, I need to elaborate. I need to expand. We need to talk a lot more.
Right.
Exxon deal, people feel it's done and dead. No, my friend. No, Guyana. It's not done. It's not dead. We can claw back. In the industry, they use the word claw back. We can claw back so many things that can bring in so many billions into our hands. But we just have to get our leaders to understand and say, no, we will not accept that. You know, let's look at local content. Local content can bring in so much of billions. But what? Where are we with that? Those are topics people need to understand. Local content. We don't even have a proper local content policy. You know? Local content. What are you getting? You were supposed to be getting everything, but you're getting nothing. Every single cent. As I am looking at local content, what it means for Guyana, I am seeing the money is not coming here. Not even the cents coming here. The millions is going to companies from all over. From Trinidad, from Israel, all over. These are people who register company here and doing business in here. And we, the ordinary folks who are supposed to be doing these things and making money, we are not given that opportunity. So local content is such a huge thing that I think we have to explain that so people understand what you should get and you are not getting. In a nutshell, local content, let me leave this with you, Guyana. Local content in the layman terms mean locals benefit. Locals benefit. Locals, it's about giving you the opportunity, giving you the chance to be able to contribute, to supply. Let's say for a simple example, I'm going to leave with you. Exxon wants water, bottled water. Our local companies here should be given that business to supply ExxonMobil with water. And don't allow ExxonMobil to import water from America. That's one example, little example, what we can rake in money from. They can buy your water. They can help you to set up your little factory, set up your own little workshop, so you can do the job for them. Another example I can give you, they have been importing cement casing that they put these pipes in. Every day they pass in front of Kaieteur News, I see it. I see so many things in front here. Cement casing, our brothers and sisters can make that right here. That will cost half the money that our government is allowing Exxon to import. Locals should have been given the opportunity. Locals should have been getting that type of jobs.
That's right.
That business. Instead, they are importing everything. And I want you to know, it's not importing everything alone. The price you're paying for it is Guyana has to pay for it. So if you buy a bottle of water for $5 US in America, and you can buy a bottle of water here for 50 cents, Guyana has to pay back that $5 that water that they bring from America. So there's so much we can talk about local content, and there's so much we can claw back with already bad deal made with ExxonMobil. We can.
Seems like you want to talk about local content during your next program.
Maybe we can do that.
All right, now thankfully we will have many more sessions of the Glenn Lall Show where he can give you a rundown of everything that's going on in the oil sector, and he will have the support of me and Kiana. I'm so sorry that we have to go so soon tonight, but you will hear from the Glenn Lall Show next week. So please remember to join us next week on 99.1 and 99.5 FM on Kaieteur Radio. Thank you so much for joining us, and good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good evening, everyone.